I want to continue with the line of videos I've done up until now, and continue with talking about shows as well as opinions that aren't generally given a spotlight. Sure, my last video was about Bondrewd and Made in Abyss, which is a gem, no pun intended. It's not a super popular show, but definitely not one that's underrated. So for this video, I'm gonna tackle a show that I feel is underrated with an even more underrated protagonist. A show that I don't really hear being talked about, Land of the Lustrous, or Hoseki no Kunai? Yeah, I suck with these pronunciations. Thanks to the first season of Beastars, and seeing how well done the 3D CGI animation was, courtesy of Orange Studio, I decided to see what other shows they had done, and without knowing anything, I went into Land of the Lustrous blindly because of, well, all the pretty hair characters, man. Nah, I just took a wild stab in the dark and got rewarded with a great show. Let me say that I do these videos with little to no research, because a quick Google search is apparently longer than editing one of these videos when you're still a noob like me. Yeah, I know, I'm pretty stupid. I say that to say, because of these colorful haired organisms that could possibly all go off into different animes and become protagonists because of their hair demands it, they are walking and talking gems. Therefore, in my long-winded style of talking, I'll be referring to them as they and them, or simply by their name, despite the obvious feminine traits. Also, I will not be covering the manga. I remember finishing the show, rushing straight to the manga, and getting all caught up to it until the hiatus happened. I told myself when it returned that I'd wait a few chapters, stack them up, and then go resuming. But I got busy and never got back to it. So without spoilers, the last thing I remembered was the 10,000 years thing. All of which really cemented Foss as one of my favorite anime manga characters. But yeah, if you know, you know. With that out of the way, we start off the show with Foss being and doing what Foss is good at. Nothing. Foss is good at nothing. Right off the bat, a bit relatable, not gonna lie. They are too clumsy and too weak to carry out tasks, unlike the rest of the gems who are far more competent and far more durable. On my rewatch of this, I'm thinking, damn, it must be nice being a gem. Laying around being immortal beings, not having to worry about rent or the cost of living. You know, nice simple lives. And that was until I remembered the show I was watching. Everything changed when the Lunarians pulled up, looking all majestic and shit. After seeing one of their heads split open, gems on weapons were slowly revealed. Okay, so the Lunarians' thing is that they like pretty gems, so they take them by force, and even use their own captured buddies as weapons to break, weaken, and even capture more gems, which in itself is kinda cold. Honestly, your enemies pulling up to smoke your boots and picking up fragments of your body like they just finished a hunt is nuts, and all because your body is made of jewelry? It's like animals being made of meat. It's not their fault that they taste so good, just like it's not the gem's fault that they look so good. But seriously, imagine for a sec being hunted and destroyed because you were a hot commodity. Hey, shout out to Kurapika and the Kurta clan. Even though I'm Team Chrollo and my guy did what he had to do, which was chasing the bag. Probably. Maybe. But seriously, it must be a bit eerie watching your alien captors picking up pieces of your body that were scattered all over the ground without saying a word or making a sound. Imagine being made out of jewelry, getting popped by your attackers, smashed into hundreds of pieces, and then the next thing you know, you're being sold out of some mall outlet and used to hang off with someone's stank ass ears, dry wrists, or even someone's crusty ass ankle. What a fucking life. Anyway, the gems are randomly attacked by Lunarians simply for existing and being themselves. While there is a lot to unpack right there in itself, I'll leave that to the more competent YouTube channels out there. Kongo, who is the master of all the gems and their parental guardian, finally realizes what Foss can do as a job, since Foss is too weak and clumsy to fight off the Lunarians. He tells Foss that their job would be compiling an encyclopedia. Now, while I said earlier that Foss is best at doing nothing, it isn't out of laziness or unwillingness. Foss would rather fight, but they can't because they're weak. Let me quickly add that I love the Mo scale, since the anime is dealing with gems. So of course you'd have Diamond at 10 being the hardest, whereas Foss, or Phospholite, is around a 3.5, making Foss a pretty delicate gem, as we can clearly see early on when Congo's strong monk-ass self has to raise his voice. It's also cool to see that once enough of them are recovered and put back together after being smashed, they can physically be whole, which ties back into their whole immortality deal. However, loss of the missing pieces can make them lose parts of their memories. Foss, not too keen on the job Congo has given them, decides it would be best to make some grand discoveries so that they will be able to join the Watch and fight off the Lunarians. To do this, Foss realizes it would be easier to reach their goal with the help of Senna, a loathsome gem who does night patrol. Senna is isolated because of the poison they release, at times being against their will. If another gem came into contact with that poison, it could stop light from going through that area, which would mean that the area would have to be chipped off, increasing the risk of losing memories considering that all gems need light to go through them so that they can function properly. Essentially, anything Senna comes into contact with turns into ruins. Towards the end of the first episode, our lovely Foss comes into contact with Senna's poison, after having Senna forced to save Foss from a Lunarian attack at twilight. Foss later has to have those contaminated parts chipped off. Only the first episode and our main character's already fucking up. Just the way I like it, because even if it gets worse, it can only go up for Foss. Right? Foss learns that Senna has a toughness of 2, being even weaker than their self, even though Senna demonstrates great combat ability. After Foss's checkup with the good doc, and have their contaminated bits chipped off, they return to looking for new discoveries when Senna approaches. Senna tells Foss how they've been waiting for their time to be taken away by the Lunarians because they'll have use for them, and how the Lunarians never show up during night patrols. Yet the second Foss shows up all alone, the Lunarians appear. Senna goes on to say how it must be nice even being desired by the enemy. Yeah, Senna has been going through it. Being all alone, isolated and ostracized by their peers, and having a job that doesn't even need them. To be a gem and know that everyone is either getting swept up or preventing themselves from getting swept up, while they themselves want to just be taken away and be done with it all, but can't because even to the enemy they aren't desirable enough, is pretty sad. This compels Foss to promise Senna that they'll find them something new and fun to do. Something that only Senna can do. God. I've only talked about the first episode and I'm how many minutes deep into this video? I'll try and speed it up and get to the more important story beats. We go on to see Foss struggling to come up with a solution to help Senna's lonely, depressed ass self. Foss then comes into contact with Daya, who is a diamond, surprise surprise. Daya's out there working on their new style of combat, which works for a bit when the Lunarians show up, and takes out a decent amount of them, using some baseball reflection type shit. That is until Bort, another diamond, shows up to make light work of the remaining Lunarians. Bort, who's pissed off at Daya, removes Daya's sleeve and exposes the cleave in their arm. And no lie, at this point on my rewatch, I kinda understand the Lunarians, because the light reflecting off of Daya's cleaved area is immaculate. I too would like to make some chains and watches out of Daya, even though I'm not really into jewelry. Already, it's interesting to watch characters like Senna and Daya, both who are competent with high offensive ability, but are also dealing with their own struggles within their existences. In Daya's case, they're capable, strong, and an elite fighter, yet pretty fragile, especially when compared to Bort. Daya feels that they should be as strong as Bort. Comparison truly is a thief of joy. I mean, even despite Dia being a diamond, there is still room for insecurity within them. Dia mentions how there is no point in even existing if they have to constantly get help or be saved, or even left behind while Bort does all the work. Funny enough, this is said with Phos right behind Dia as Dia is talking to Bort, and Phos is just there as if they aren't the only gem at the school who is the least capable one there. I mean, damn Phos, if there's no hope for Dia, then there sure as hell ain't any hope for you. Might as well pack it up and lay down for the Lunarians to show up so they could take your ass to the moon and put you on a Cuban link. But fast forwarding a bit, the Lunarians were working double shift, so they end up pulling back up again. But this time they only drop off a big ass shell. Bort dispatches of the Lunarians' Uber driver, and the snail is left behind. With everyone's back turned, the snail comes out of its shell and swallows up our main character. The snail treats Phos like cotton candy and quickly melts Phos away, and it's only the second episode. The episode ends with Phos saying, without them, Cinna will be stuck doing lonely night patrols. It's sweet to see that even though they're being melted away, they're still thinking about Cinna. But anyway, our main protagonist has already been shattered by Congo, got Cinna's poison all over theirself, had to have parts of themselves chipped away, and got melted by an unknown snail that was dropped by the Lunarians from the moon. Back to back L's, man. But I'm sure Phos will be able to bounce back, right? I mean, the anime is only 12 episodes after all, plenty of time to rack up some W's. Yeah. Dia learns that Phos could probably be salvaged after a discussion with Cinna. So Dia gets the other gems at the school to pull the snail shell out of the pond so that they could begin removing Phos from the shell. Once whole again, Phos is the only one who is able to understand the snail, which has shrunk down after being dipped in the water. But because Phos is the only one that's able to understand the snail, everybody looks at Phos as if they're insane. The snail plants the idea into Phos's head that going to the sea would be a good idea to search for something for Cinna to do, but Congo forbids it. But in Phos-like fashion, they go to the sea since the snail continues to express how it wants to see its homeland again, and how there are others that look just like the gems. Yeah, you know what? I finally smell a W coming along. God bless this poor gem for being so kind. Once under the sea, the snail transforms into a jellyfish humanoid hybrid and explains to Phos how they're all derived from humans, which is why they look similar to the gems. The myth states that humans eventually took to the sea and gradually split into flesh, bone, and spirit. The flesh being the admirably, hope I'm saying that right, admirably of the sea. The bone went back to live on the land, which are the gems, and the Lunarians are the spirit. The snail, now turned jellyfish, continues to lead Phos further and further away from the shore. Now, would you believe that the jellyfish actually betrayed Phos? I mean seriously, how could the jellyfish possibly betray little old Phos? Just for the sake of freeing their brother from the Lunarians. Definitely didn't see that coming. But yeah, the jellyfish legit set up our jump Phos to get blasted by the Lunarians as a trade. And just like that, after getting shot up and having their legs shattered into a bunch of pieces, Phos is rewarded with another L. Man, who else is doing it like Phos? Big Phos? Apparently, the Lunarians were expecting more gems to have been lured into the sea to get jumped. So they turn on Mrs. Jellyfish and attack her for not holding up her end of the bargain. Even despite getting set up, Phos is concerned for the jellyfish's well-being. The jellyfish's brother breaks loose, falls into the sea, when attacked only to transform and finish up the Lunarians with ease. Of course, under all the madness, Phos gets hit by a stray and loses a piece of their face. I mean, hey, if there is bullshittery afoot, and Phos is close by, you know Phos is gonna get hit with some bullshit. Phos is a magnet to unfortunate events. That's the best way I can put it. Anyway, Phos is basically laying there in their self-loathing, not even mad at being betrayed. But before the brother and sister jellyfish dip off, They take Foss along with two long pieces of the brother's shell. Right before the Gems back at school go out in a search party to look for Foss's dumbass, the jellyfish brought Foss back to the shore, leaving them right near Cinna on some covert ninja shit. Tired, defeated, and still missing their legs, Foss still promises Cinna that even though they couldn't find anything for Cinna at the sea, that they'll still search for something else tomorrow. Foss might be weak and goofy, and I don't use the word goofy with a negative connotation, but more of a likable personality trait. But yeah, they might be both weak and goofy, but they're persistent despite all of their failures. No legs, but I still remember you and my promise to you, and I'm still gonna find something new for you to do? God, what a precious little gem. Surely Foss will never change and will continue to remain their same precious self. I mean, come on, not every character needs character development. That shit's overrated. Foss is perfect just the way they are. Moving on. Cinna drops Foss back at the school without even notifying anybody that we're searching for them. Like the lonely, introverted tsundere king that Cinna is, Kongo gets word that Foss is back at the school, and he's a bit mad, as he should be considering how he warned Foss not to go to the sea. But you can only be mad at Foss for so long. I mean, look at them. They'd make the perfect Christmas gift to a loved one for the season with their peppermint color. But still, Kongo immediately takes away the job he had given them, which is also fair since that job has only got Foss into trouble. And that trouble has been a burden on everyone else. You just know that this has to sting Foss a bit, being a burden to those around him, getting and losing a job in a matter of days, and not being able to help Cinna. It sucks to suck. But yeah, the good doctor fixes up Foss once again since Kongo's shouting broke them into even more pieces. Real quick, shout out to the doc for being the only gemsmith present and constantly having to take care of Foss's fragile ass self. They can't even go to sleep without waking up to more work. The doc also decides it would be best to use the material from the snail shell that was with Foss to make new legs for them. At first, the good doc asks Foss how they even got the material in the first place. And this is where we see Foss's memory being affected, as they're unable to recall the shell, jellyfish ruler, whatever, that thing. Well, memory loss was bound to happen with them. Not gonna lie, they were kinda better off doing nothing. The good doc states that Foss lost about a third of their body. We see Foss entirely forget about Jade. At first, after their new pair of legs from the shell were attached to Foss, they were unable to move them, but after a little bit of time and remembering Cinna, they were able to stand up and use them. And now they're even able to run fast as fuck, boy, but they can't control their speed. Oh yeah, their legs are more durable than the rest of their body, on some cyborg shit. With their new prosthetic Tesla legs, Foss wishes to join the patrol to use their new strength to fight off the Lunarians, which is what they originally wanted to do over filling out the encyclopedia, but they're still weak as fuck. You know, the good doc is thinking to themselves, please Kongo, don't let Foss go on to patrol duty, because they know that every day of theirs is gonna end in fixing Foss up after the Lunarians attack. A quick and cute little moment was when Kongo asked Foss why they were so determined to fight, and the answer Foss gave was because they loved Kongo and just wanted to help, which has the good doc, Yellow, and Kongo himself stunned. Kongo, still unsure of letting Foss partake in patrol, still decides that they could do lookout, which has Foss pretty hype. Afterwards, he asks Foss to tell him anything that they can remember about the sea, but because Foss has lost a third of their body, and thus a big chunk of their memory, but after struggling for a bit, Foss finally mentions humans, and that word leaves Kongo with a big ass shocked face. The first time we ever see him like that. Yellow even echoed the word to themselves. unsure of what it was, which begs the question, why does Kongo know what it is, and why is he so surprised? Again, I'm not gonna do no manga talk, so I'm not even gonna begin to get into this part. But if you know, you know. So Phos is teamed up with the Amethyst twins, and on the third day of their watch, the Lunarians show up. The twins put in work and seemingly defeat them, but this Lunarian is a new form. And because they looked at Phos for one quick second, a trap that was made with shards from a previous gem that was taken were revealed. Man, it smashed the twins with the quickness. All Phos could do was sit back and watch, powerless, scared. Luckily though, Bort rushed in and saved the smashed up twins before their asses were boom tubed to the moon. Phos feels like complete shit, and even waits for the good doc to piece back up the twins together again. And Phos immediately apologizes to them once they're awake. The twins though aren't mad at Phos, nor were they disappointed that they were too scared to act. Instead, they apologized to Phos and blamed themselves for being too careless, and for even making Phos feel afraid. Gotta love the accountability here. Phos did nothing wrong. And now we enter the section of the show where things start to take a turn. I can't stress this enough, but God, the amount of grief that Phos could have spared themselves if they simply went off to hibernate, it's pretty damn ridiculous. So, because of this, I'm going to call this the Shoulda Hibernated arc. Now, we start the Shoulda Hibernated arc with winter upon the gems. During the winter, there's very little sunlight, and since the gems need sunlight to function to the best of their ability, they hibernate during the winter, leaving Kongo and another gem, Anarch, for the few sunny days that the Lunarians might show up. Again, look at them. Chains, earrings, bracelets, rings, watches, grills. I completely understand the Lunarians. I find it interesting how we specifically see more focus of Phos with other gems who seem to be lonesome. First it was Cinna, then Dai to some degree, and now Anarch, who is also isolated from the rest of the gems. This is because Anarch is in a liquid state 3/4 of the year, only being solid in the winter when it's cold enough. I feel like these lonesome characters highlight and are a reflection of Phos, the feeling of uselessness, being too weak, having nothing to offer other than being a burden. And despite having a goofy yet approachable personality, is often left to the side. Anyway, Phos admits to Anarch that they probably couldn't fall asleep because of their frustration with their self for what happened to the twins, and how no one blamed them for freezing up. Phos goes on to help Anarch with smashing up ice falls. Ultimately, the Shoulda Hibernated arc is Anarch putting Phos through the beginning of their training and toughening up arc. Anarch is a half point lower than Phos, but comes off as more capable because of their courage and no excuse attitude. One day, after Phos discusses with Kongo and Anarch that they can understand what the ice falls are saying to them, Anarch praises our peppermint gem, but adds how they wish Phos had arms that would match their new legs. This really drives home how useless Phos feels, as well as others around them. The only part of them that is actually useful isn't even really them, despite the upgrade. At their core, Phos is still the same Phos we've seen in episode 1. Also, for Phos to be a more capable gem to themselves and others around them, that would require a similar incident where they had previously lost their legs as well as a third of who they were. While we are the sum of our choices in our lives, we're also the sum of our memories. At least to me anyway. So if the only way for Phos to improve is to lose more of their self, where would that leave Phos? A more dependable gem, sure, but one who is less and less their self? But you know what, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here. It was a bit sad jumping into the next scene and seeing Phos contemplating cutting off their hands. Even though it's explained that the ice falls takes one's doubt and exacerbates them. But regardless, we see that thought is already lingering in Phos's mind. how it's possible for them to lose their arms and end up being more useful and stronger, similar to what happened after they lost their legs. The Ice Foals continued to insist, but you know what? Big Foss was like, nah bro, I don't succumb to peer pressure, I don't do drugs, and then they went on about their day. Okay, that didn't happen. But Foss did still resist, showing that it's okay to say no to strangers and also say no to the random voices in your head. But in Foss-like fashion, they slipped and fell backwards into the water. Oh man, you can't make this shit up. Foss isn't a gem. They are a magnet to bullshit. Anyway, Anarch sees Foss about to go under and rescues them, but of course, their arms are gone. Being a real one, Anarch dives in after Foss's arms, risking their own well-being and nearly has their own hand smashed into dust. But it was all to no avail. Foss's arms are gone. Also, real quick, since I've been avoiding it this whole video, but why are gems always bent over like this? Like seriously, especially for Foss, this feels like their secondary stance after they've taken an L, or risking someone else's well-being. No lie, my first time seeing this show, not knowing if this was a limited series or if the show just needed one season to tell the whole story, I thought I was going to seriously witness a gem getting Alzheimer's with the amount of mass that Foss was losing, and was going to look completely different by the end of the show. Okay, manga spoilers, real quick, manga spoilers, since I kind of touched on it a little bit, I'll give you a little time. Okay, Congo would be the Dr. Miami of our world. He would have all the doctorate degrees out of Brazil and Colombia for being a master sculptor, sculpting these gems in the forms of humans. But hey, Congo made sure he got the curves down as if it were a science. Not an art, but a science. I would say he cooked, but he made all of them in the same image, so he was really only cooking one meal. No diversity whatsoever. And for that, I kinda gotta dock him a couple of points. But yeah, IG models will definitely be hitting him up, making their appointments with speed. Tell me I'm lying. Anyway, Anarch and Foss report back to Congo. Yo, look at my guy. Look at how flabbergasted he is as to how one gem could constantly keep fucking up so much and as badly as Foss does. Okay, let me stop. But the man is thinking something alright. God, you should've just fucking hibernated, Foss. Of course, poor Anarch blames herself and wants to go back looking for Foss's arms. But they might as well be getting sold on the moon in some back alley. Them shits is gone. Congo tells Foss to go to the Cord Shore, where all the gems are born from, and search for another prosthetic upgrade so they can go even further beyond the 3.5 hardness. Anarch and Foss get to the Cord Shore, and Foss has gold attached to their inclusion, even though gold is malleable and heavy, not making it ideal. But we quickly learn that Foss is a gold bender. Right in the nick of time, right as the Lunarians show up as soon as the sun breaks through the cloudy sky. Gotta say, for being so unlucky, Foss does have some luck. From the parts of the shell working his new legs to these new golden arms, shows that even if life sucks, you're due for something good to happen. Probably my favorite takeaway from this show. Yeah, f all of that. Foss can't control the gold. Per usual, Anarch takes the lead with dealing with the Lunarians, cutting up in the snow like they're playing SSX Tricky. This whole time, Congo's being held up by a whole other Lunarian squad that pulled up at the school. I will say, the Lunarians have been getting better with their approach. From their traps and their diversions, they've been cooking in them company meetings. I'm glad to say that while Anarch had to fight the Lunarians solo and got chipped up pretty badly, it wasn't Foss's fault. The Lunarians didn't even know about Foss being inside of the gold cube. So yeah, can't blame Foss being a hindrance there. So, Anarch goes over to Foss after defeating the new form of the Lunarians, and tries to help Foss from getting out of the golden cube. But they struggle, rightfully so. given the damage sustained during their battle. But from out of nowhere, Anarch gets sniped with their back turned, being too busy focused on getting Phos out of the cube. Is anyone else starting to see a pattern here? And like a G, Anarch's last gesture was signaling for Phos to be quiet, so the Lunarians wouldn't notice Phos, so Congo wouldn't be all alone during the winter. What's fucked up and also kind of funny here is that the gold creates a bunch of hands that cover Phos's mouth from making a sound so they wouldn't be discovered. Even the gold Phos recently acquired is smarter than Phos themselves. They were like, yo, don't get us caught. Let us carry you to the finish line since you clearly can't do it on your own. Poor Phos. Unintentionally helping the Lunarians, getting other gems snatched away and into their pockets. But like any battle shonen, the formula dictates that Phos is well overdue for an actual power-up because of the constant failure, and Phos gets just that, the desperate power of friendship package power-up. Watching this, you get the feeling that for once, Phos is going to make up for everything in this one moment with their newfound power, despite their body cracking from the weight of the gold, and having the courage and strength to rush after the Lunarians. But alas, Phos can't save Anarch from being taken away to the moon. Just like that, the Lunarians are able to make another bag off of Anarch's body. Look like Anarch is gonna sell pretty well too, if I have to say so myself. You see how beautiful them shards look in the light? Damn. But seriously, look at how broken Phos looks here in Congo's arms. Even with the new strength they got from the new arms, it wasn't enough. Another gem went down because of them. They feel guilty, weak, and useless. They shoulda hibernated. The worst part about it is that when Phos blames herself for Anarch's loss, Congo said it was his fault. At this point, you would imagine Phos is tired of hearing that. I know I would. But yay! Winter is over! Now the show could go back to being fun and silly again with Phos being goofy with the rest of their fellow gems, right? Right? The first episode after the shoulda hibernated arc, we see Phos's face, and man, that's the face of a gem that has been through some shit. Phos legit looks like they've been through a battle shown in time skip, and has lost all emotion in order to reach greater heights. It does hurt a bit to see Phos like this, even more in my second watch through. We see that Congo has obviously been sharpening Phos, simply from him asking them what type of Lunarians are before them. With dead eyes, we see Phos easily dispatch of the Lunarians, using the gold they've acquired to act as a shield against all incoming attacks. But this new Phos still has a little of the old Phos in them, nearly getting sniped by a falling Lunarian, though Congo saves them. You also notice that the second Phos loses focus, they lose control of the gold, which I feel is fine because of the wider range and roles the gold seems to play for Phos compared to their legs. Oh yeah, and because of the gold, they aren't as fast as they used to be. Me personally, I like a good and reasonable drawback. There's no reason for Phos to now be completely busted. Anyway, Phos stops by the only piece of Anarch that was left behind, and admits that they can't sleep, because every time they do, they end up seeing Anarch. Yeah, so that survivor's guilt is kicking Phos's ass. If the Amethyst twins would have been taken away, I feel like the same thing would have happened. Now all Phos can do is improve and hope that one day the Lunarians bring back Anarch as tools to capture other gems, so that Phos could be able to retrieve the rest of Anarch. It's also pretty interesting how Phos is becoming more human-like with gold tears coming down from their eyes. It's almost like losing more of their self is making them more human. Almost. Phos ends up waking up the gems since spring has officially arrived. The good doc assumes that they're talking to Anarch, since they're the ones to usually wake them up after winter is over. But to the good doc's surprise, it's Phos. Me personally, if I went to sleep and when I awoke the person who I usually see on the daily looks completely different, I'd feel a little trippy. After the good doc tells them to get Cinna so that they could all have a meeting, we learn that the memories of Cinna were lost when Phos lost their arms. No. I will say, going back to Phos getting stronger the more of their self that they lose, it is a nice touch when new strength or powers or abilities come at a cost. I'll always love that trade-off, as it automatically creates this internal-external conflict. Kongo holds the meeting, informing everyone of the loss of Anarch and how Phos took on their role during the winter. Off rip, all the gems are shocked that the one walking by them is Phos, straight off of the aura. They can tell Phos is different, and not just off the physical appearance. Phos sorts of takes the lead and gives everyone a rundown of the new form of Lunarians they had taken down, while using their new golden arms, which sorts of freaks everyone out at first. As a result, Phos is embarrassed by their body, but because gems are way less judgmental than us humans, they were only initially caught off, and actually find Phos's new arms pretty cool, even to the point that it's a bit overwhelming for Phos how interested they are in them. Even though it's pretty cute, kind of like when a couple first has a dog and then they have babies and then they keep harassing the dog when it's trying to sleep. These were really nice scenes, a good change of pace from the sunken place Phos was finding theirself in. You even got Kongo saying that if they're going to harass Phos, they need to do it with some order, so he suggests that they form a line. Real good and goofy stuff. Phos runs away to protect their personal space and peace of mind, and runs into Cinna. In Cinna's head, they're probably like, oh, so how's your promise to me coming along? I see you got new arms, but no new word on your promise? Yeah, something like that. With Kongo tired from staying awake the entire time helping Phos to the winner, he falls asleep and rests his back. Phos is asked to go out on patrol in the meantime, which they readily accept with confidence. We hear how they had always wanted to fight, but now being out and seeing what comes of it, it's dangerous work. There really is a great sense of maturity and growth in Phos from the shoulda hibernated arc until now, even though much of it happens off screen. Though I'd argue it isn't a bad thing we aren't shown it. With everything that has happened, you can get a pretty good idea of how Phos's personality and frame of mind has changed. The growth they've reached is reasonable. When you're tossed out to learn in a harsher environment, you either sink or swim. And Phos swam. Phos ends up pulling up to the twins and takes down the Lunarians with ease, showing off the work they've been putting in the off-season, trying to get Most Improved Gem of the Year along with the MVP award, which we might see how Bort's feeling some type of way with them holding down the MVP for back-to-back centuries. Is Bort reign finally being threatened by the Golan Phosphophylite? Sorry, I'm just happy the NBA is back. Also, this isn't true, because literally in the next episode we see Bort wanting to work alongside with Phos, because they view Phos as the makings of the raw material that can become a diamond. Figuratively speaking, of course. I gotta make that clear since the puns write themselves when I'm talking about gems and diamonds. Oh yeah, it was also nice that Phos got to get a little smile off with the twins praising them, with them stating how Phos is nothing like the Phos they had first brought out on patrol with them, and how Phos must be proud of theirself. We see everyone really viewing Phos as a more dependable and responsible gem. After the discussion with Bort about teaming up, Phos isn't entirely crazy about the idea, but they quickly imagine what Anarch would say, making Phos push through with the decision to work with Bort. Despite Phos being hesitant about breaking the news to Daya, who is normally teamed up with Bort, Daya takes the news pretty well. Now, it's time for Phos to team up with somebody. And you know what that means. Time to attract bullshit like the magnet Phos truly is. The people on the moon drop some hot new DLC for the gems to deal with. Bort rushes in while Phos provides backup, and Bort immediately gets caught, but Phos is quick to free them up. Bort quickly realizes that this new DLC enemy the Lunarians dropped off is a bit too much for them to handle, So their best bet is to wake Congo up from his sleep so he could Thanos snap them away. I gotta say, this is one of the best animated episodes of the show, which really says a lot because the show is already beautiful as it is, even without any fight sequences going on. Also, probably the funniest scene in the entire show is Daya deciding to fight the Lunarian beast without any help and instantly regretting that decision after one short exchange with it. Shout out to Daya though for beating the Lunarian beast in its original form with only one functioning leg. Daya and Bort are able to have a nice moment together, but it's cut short when more Lunarians sprout from the original one that Daya cut down. Alexandrite, a Super Saiyan goddess, saves Phos from one, since they go nuts whenever they lay eyes on a Lunarian. The Lunarian beast seems to become more docile after they are cut up into smaller and smaller pieces. In smaller pieces, they end up resembling puppies. And who doesn't love puppies? So, they run around, the gems gather all of them together, put them in one spot, and only for them to transform back into the original sized beast. But thankfully, Congo wakes up and tames it, even calling it by its name, which creates more questions. If you know, you know. Of course, Phos is the only one who hears Congo ask the beast what happened to its hand, and calling it by its name. While no one else seems to care if Congo really did say those things, only Phos questions it. It doesn't help that Congo plays dumb about not saying its name or asking what happened to its hand. Phos then gets the idea that given how formal Congo spoke with it, that Congo and the Lunarians must have some sort of prior relationship. I mean, come on, Phos. Did you lose your head too? How could your master possibly have such a past? Especially given how the Lunarians constantly come from the moon to collect their fellow gems. I mean, no way, right? Big Phos is the only one out there not drinking the Kool-Aid, and I love it. I go back to when Phos mentions that the reason they want to fight is because they love Congo, and they want to be of more help. So Phos is probably like, what's all of this malarkey of fighting the Lunarians when it seems like you've been cozy with them? What happened? What are you not telling us? This contrast from the rest of the gems really sets Phos apart from the rest of everyone else's frame of thinking. Especially to even question Congo and having Phos's trust waver in him. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself a bit. Phos goes out for a stroll and runs into Cinna, who has the last puppy with them. When Phos starts to suggest that Congo might be hiding something from the rest of them concerning his relationship with the Lunarians, Cinna says they know, that everyone knows or at least suspects it. Yet they all decide to trust Congo nonetheless, which shocks Phos and creates even a deeper conflict within theirself. To have known the truth, still stay by Congo's side and love him, only to get taken away from the Lunarians, is a tough pill to swallow. How could everyone else know but blindly accept it? When Congo touches the Lunarian beast and it disappears, Phos asks if it's returning back to the moon. But Congo says no because it has found peace. If you're Phos, who refuses to blindly trust Congo at this point, how do you separate the truth from the lies? You can't. You would have to be skeptical of everything he says. Again, shoulda hibernated to avoid this stress. But again, Phos is Phos, and when you're Phos, you're built different. Literally. Regardless, Phos comes to the conclusion that if they want to know the truth, they would have to ask the Lunarians themselves. Fast forward a bit, but when the good doc is able to get Parapalopagus up and running for a bit, so they can stretch their legs before they shut down for another few centuries, Phos and Parapalopagus spend a little time together. Phos revealed that they want to speak to the Lunarians. I don't know if that's because they feel like Parapalopagus was going to shut down immediately anyway and wouldn't be able to snitch. But Parapalopagus tells Phos that the truth might possibly completely change the landscape for them. So Phos should really think and be sure that the truth is truly what they want. And then Parapalopagus shuts down. Can't snitch if you can't talk, right? Even though they didn't give me snitch vibes. Anyway, Parapalopagus seems like that dope-ass auntie at the family reunion that you love to see and catch up with. Not too long later, the Lunarians show up while Phos is all alone. Phos is actually able to isolate one of them from the rest of the pack to see if they could talk. But Big Senna pulls up with that Mercury Nerf squirt gun and sprays the entire Lunarian squad, sending them right back to the moon before Phos can discover anything. This is when Phos faintly remembers their promise to Senna. Their new obsession with learning the Lunarians and finding out what exactly Congo is hiding from all of the gems has slowly started to consume Phos, so much so that it takes priority over the promise they've made Senna. One more time, we see Phos going to Senna at night, saying that they've finally found a new job for Senna, but it comes across as more of a selfish desire than what Phos had originally promised them, a fun job that only Senna can do. At that moment, you see that despite saying how much they didn't care, Senna was really holding on to that promise from Phos. Phos tells the truth to Senna, how it wouldn't be a fun job like they had promised, and the job would instead be helping Phos discover the truth between Congo and the Lunarians, and for Senna to help offer their opinions to Phos. Phos is able to get Senna on board, but damn man, it hurts to see how much Senna was actually trusting Phos to deliver on their promise. Instead now, Senna is roped up into Phos's obsession in discovering the truth. The ending is bitter, despite how happy it might come across. While everyone else is on the screen living in ignorant bliss, we have our poor Phos with what seems like the weight of the world on their shoulders, unable to let go of what the truth might possibly be. Part of me wonders if it's because of their past weaknesses, like if Anarch had never been captured, or if Phos would have just simply hibernated. Would hearing Congo say the Lunarian's name and how formal it was with it have truly bothered Phos as much? I don't think so. And that ending where they show Phos at the beginning to what they are now, just sad chills, man. At what point, if you're Phos, do you look back at everything that has happened and be like, you know what? I love you and I trust you wholeheartedly like everyone else here at the school. At what point is the truth no longer important? Going back to what Parapalopagus warned Phos with, what if you keep pressing the issue and find out the truth wasn't worth it? What if you just should have hibernated? But anyway, that's the end of the show. What's with these dope-ass animes having a one-and-done season? Our eyes may never be worthy of seeing another one, though I will continue to lay awake at night praying that one day we will get a continuation from Orange Studio. At least there's the manga to know how the story ends. Yeah, I'm probably not gonna even resume where I left off and just start over from the beginning and just binge the whole thing. Now real quick, because this video is approaching 50 minutes, I do want to say that despite all of my jokes about Phos, I really do enjoy them as a character, as I've stated in the beginning, and everything I've said is pretty much just, jabbing and poking fun at a character I love. Also, while a lot of people might see Phos's character with having a bunch of flaws and a whole bunch of boneheaded decisions, I enjoy every bit of Phos. Not the person to get mad at a character for making choices that I myself wouldn't make. And while the manga does a better job of showing Phos's development, just seeing the early foundation being laid for Phos here in these 12 episodes was a delight. So if for some reason you've made it to the end and you're one of those people who just like having things spoiled for them before they watch a show, I hope you enjoy it for one, and two, I hope you pick up the manga and finish seeing how it ends, just in case we don't get the rest of the show animated. And hopefully the manga didn't drop the ball at the ending. Guess I'll have to find out. Until next time.